It's movie time. It's produced by John DeSanto. Listen to shows and read reviews online at wcbe.org.
I'm John
I'm
DeSanto.
Wayne Miller.
This is It's Movie Time.
It sure is.
Well, let's go to Egypt.
Well, better yet, I'd like to take a boat ride.
Excellent. That's just very typical of us picking up and going very quickly.
I know. It's almost like going to Marietta and getting on the little river boat there.
That's right. Well, I think actually there are more shenanigans on Death on the Nile than there are when we usually travel. And that's saying something.
That is saying something. None of our friends have been killed off during any of our little boat trips.
Okay, so Death on the Nile is out there.
Yes.
And this kind of extends the Agatha Christie stuff.
Yeah.
But what do we have before this?
A Murder on the Orient Express, of course, with Kenneth Branagh playing the indomitable Hercule Poirot.
Yes.
With his mustache. You know, what I liked about this, we get a little bit more backstory on him, because the movie actually opens up in the trenches of World War I, 1914 in Belgium. And we learn why he had to grow a mustache.
I had the same feeling, and my overall appreciation of this film was that it tried to be different by getting deeper.
Yes.
And particularly deeper into the human emotion of it.
Yes, and with still some humor, but not nearly as much as we've seen in like Peter Ustinov's impersonation of Poirot, you know, the movie,
Yes.
including Death on the Nile that he made. And also Albert Finney, the original Murder on the Orient Express, and David Sachet, who on the British series that I watch quite often on PBS, and a little bit of a buffoon, but not Branagh's Poirot is really not played as a buffoon as some of the others.
Oh, not at all. I agree,
No.
and I think it got deeper, more serious this time.
Yes.
It draws him into the whole love motif.
Love motif, yes, because of a love that he had.
Yes.
That he basically kind of gave up after his disfiguring injuries during World War I.
Yes.
But also a much more somber Poirot,
Yes.
particularly when one of his friends is killed. That I almost expected that it might have been a bit too mawkish to see that one extreme close-up they had of his face and his eyes are water. And I thought, if they go for the cheap tear down the cheek, they would have lost me. But they kept it emotional, but not going over the edge into something mawkish.
And he's got it, and in that love motif, he's got his eye on a cutie pie. Mm-hmm. You're on the boat, Perot. What are you doing?
Yes, yes. And at the end, we see him go to visit her.
Yes.
She's kind of a Billie Holiday-ish.
Right.
Or especially because of the French, Dorothy is it Bainbridge that
good one.
was a big hit.
Yeah.
And because France did not have some of the color barrier that the U.S. had in the 1930s, 20s, and 30s.
Yeah.
That you would you kind of notice that here too. You know, with a couple of the characters.
Yeah, and there's jazz played throughout, which I think is a really nice touch.
Yeah.
And she's a singer,
Yeah.
a torch singer, and it looks like they're going to hit it off, or at least Poirot, which is again another thing that I liked about it, that they're letting him loose a little bit to join the regular folk without being some iceberg.
Yes, and a more kind of action-packed, which he was also in Murder on the Orient Express. And we got talking about all this past weekend with friends. And his Poirot reminds me a little of the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes. Much more physical character.
Yes.
That he could probably handle himself.
Yes. And you know something? You're reminding me that I didn't in the end like Downey's portrayal because I thought it was way too loose. Way too physical. Once you come off of Basil Rathbone,
or Jeremy Brett,
are
or
you
some
right,
of the,
and come to Downey, I appreciated
yes.
what they were doing, but it seemed out of Doyle to me. It was not exactly what he would.
Even though in the stories, Holmes was a physical presence and could take care of himself, especially with fisticuffs and the jujitsu and things like that. But back to our little boat trip along the Nile, the one thing that really impressed me about this movie was the cinematography. And this is a movie to definitely see on the big screen. Oh my goodness.
You are so right.
Really beautifully shot.
Yes.
And even the very gray, the early part of the movie, there in the trenches of World War I, you really get a feel for
always
that.
Good, yes. I thought there were a few times when I thought it was a model boat.
Yeah, you're right. I kind of thought the same thing too. I thought it was really a pretty cool boat.
I know, right?
And what kind of also I got a big kick out of, I might have said it while we were seeing this early screening last night, that the cute little crew, all decked out in white.
Yes.
The young ladies, and here they are, whenever you see them, they're carrying another dead body.
Yes.
Wrapped like a mummy, which I thought was quite appropriate.
Oh, yeah.
The bodies were all wrapped up in these shrouds.
Yes,
and I'm
yes.
thinking, oh my goodness. The mummy lives.
Yeah. Now, when we look at this, I'll tell you my other impression about, we're talking about Death on the Nile, was that it was, less intricate, or maybe not intricate as much as I'm trying to think of the previous.
The previous with Ustinov?
Yeah.
Well, some of that, I think, wasn't quite, the original wasn't quite as somber. And how the people, the characters in this, that in some ways, if I hadn't seen the original, that I would be hard kind of placing some of these people and their relationships with each other.
Yeah.
And that's where some of the original movies really kind of played on, that they spilled it out a little bit more. You had to dig a little bit deeper, really listen and think about this while you're watching it to kind of place this multitude of characters, but also the actors and actresses portraying them.
Yeah.
And probably the most well-known of, besides, of course, Brandau, is going to be Gail Gadot as the kind of femme fatale.
Wonder Woman.
Yes, the femme fatale here, as well as also Armie Hammer.
Yes.
They're the only...
The Lone Ranger.
The Lone Ranger, but also more well known for the Social Network movie.
Yeah.
About.
But somehow I think Armie's probably never going to get a nomination.
No. Yeah.
He looks great.
but yeah, he was. Now Gal, on the other hand, I really like her.
Yeah.
And of course Emma Mackey.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
British
she
actress.
Just
perky and
lit up,
lovely.
Lit up the, and then of course it's almost kind of in a way a cameo. Definitely a lesser supporting character in the movie is played by Annette Bening.
Yes.
One of the only other well-known.
She's Boop's mother.
Yeah, it's something like
a painter.
Yeah. But yeah, I can't say enough about how much I really enjoyed looking at this movie.
Yes, and I think you're right from the get-go. You exclaimed that, and you were right. And the color was right, and the must be the fabrication of the Ramses and the Sphinx. Gee, that was impressive.
Yeah, and the pyramids, as he's kind of sitting there, and of course sees his old friend flying a kite.
I love him flying a kite.
That Perrault, who had, because you still get some of the fastidious aspects of Perrault's personality.
Oh,
with his little tiny cup of espresso, all of his like little delicacies
Yes, yes.
kind of laid out on a table, and as he's sitting there admiring the Sphinx and the pyramids in the background, all of a sudden his enjoyment is marred by somebody flying a kite.
I love him moving the foot on the corpse.
Yeah.
All right, Wayne Miller,
Yes.
what do you recommend?
I recommend people see it. You know, go in for an enjoyable evening. Try to guess who it may be, who the murderers may be.
It's one of the first times I've actually guessed it before the end.
Yeah.
No, you're really good at that one.
I took the original.
Oh, yeah.